Hello and welcome to Newsweek South Asia, your one-stop destination for in-depth analysis of security challenges, regional conflicts, and the evolving threat of terrorism. Let's take a look at the headlines first. India rebukes Pakistan at UN, dismisses false narrative on Operation Sindoor. Jaish commander Usman killed in encounter in Jammu and Kashmir's Katwa. And as Bangladesh heads to national polls, young voters seek stability and change. India has delivered one of its sharpest rebukes yet to Pakistan at the United Nations Security Council, accusing Islamabad of abusing global platforms to push a divisive agenda while presiding over democratic collapse and state-sponsored terrorism at home. Against this backdrop, New Delhi dismissed false narrative on Operation Sindoor, saying its response to the Pahalgam terror attack was calibrated, non-escalatory, and focused on dismantling Pakistan's sponsored terror infrastructure.
It is not normal to tolerate Pakistan's continued use of terrorism as an instrument of state policy.
India issued a strong rebuttal at the United Nations Security Council after Pakistan questioned New Delhi's counter-terror response following the April 22 Pahalgam attack, including Operation Sindoor.
Financiers and sponsors
India rejected Pakistan's remarks as false and self-serving, accusing Islamabad of misusing multilateral forum to deflect from its own record.
Pakistan-sponsored
India told the Council that the backdrop to its response was one of the deadliest terror attacks in recent years. In April 2025, Pakistan-sponsored terrorists carried out a brutal assault in Pahalgam, killing 26 innocent civilians in religion-based targeted killings. The attack drew international condemnation, including from the Security Council itself, which called for holding the perpetrators, organizers, financiers and sponsors accountable.
India's actions were measured, non-escalatory and responsible, and focused on dismantling the terrorist infrastructure and disabling terrorists. Till 9th of May, Pakistan was threatening more attacks on India. But on the 10th of May, the Pakistani military called our military directly and pleaded for a cessation to the fighting. The destruction caused to multiple Pakistani air bases by the Indian operation, including images of destroyed runways and burnt-out hangars, are in the public domain.
India also questioned Pakistan's suitability to sit on the Security Council, arguing that a state which prioritizes vendetta politics and misinformation over peace cannot be expected to uphold the Council's responsibilities. New Delhi firmly rejected Islamabad's claim that Kashmir must be resolved through UN resolutions, reiterating that the matter is internal to India and constitutionally settled. But the sharpest criticism was reserved for Pakistan's domestic political trajectory, one that India described as a stark contradiction to its rhetoric about the will of the people. Ambassador Harish highlighted the imprisonment of former Prime Minister Imran Khan, the banning of his political party and sweeping constitutional changes that consolidate military power beyond civilian oversight.
Pakistan is well advised to introspect about the rule of law. It could start by asking itself how it has let its armed forces engineer a constitutional coup through the 27th Amendment and giving lifetime immunity to its Chief of Defence Forces.
Imran Khan has been behind bars since August 2023, with reports of prolonged solitary confinement. The UN Special Rapporteur on Torture has warned that his detention conditions may amount to torture or other cruel, inhuman or degrading treatment, concerns Islamabad has so far dismissed. Last month's 27th Constitutional Amendment, passed under Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, further entrenched military dominance by granting lifelong legal immunity to Army Chief and Chief of Defence Forces Field Marshal Asim Munir, a move critics say formalizes authoritarian rule.
How it has let its armed forces engineer a constitutional coup through the 27th Amendment and giving lifetime immunity to its Chief of Defence Forces.
India also addressed Pakistan's allegations over the Indus Waters Treaty, underlining that New Delhi entered the agreement 65 years ago in good faith, despite enduring decades of conflict and terror emanating from across the border. It is against this backdrop, India said that it has decided to place the Indus Waters Treaty in abeyance, a calibrated move framed as a response to Pakistan's failure to dismantle its terror infrastructure.
India had entered into the Indus Waters Treaty 65 years ago in good faith, in a spirit of goodwill and friendship. Throughout the 6.5 decades, Pakistan has violated the spirit of the treaty by inflicting 3 wars and thousands of terror attacks on India. Thousands of Indian lives have been lost in Pakistan-sponsored terror attacks. India was compelled to finally announce that the treaty will be held in abeyance until Pakistan, a global epicenter of terror, credibly and irrevocably ends its support for cross-border and all other forms of terrorism.
India concluded its intervention with an unambiguous warning that terrorism will be met with resolve, not restraint. New Delhi made it clear that peace in South Asia cannot coexist with impunity for extremist violence or military domination over democratic institutions.
We will do whatever required to protect and ensure the safety and security of our citizens.
India has scored a major counter-terrorism success in Jammu and Kashmir. In a precise joint operation, Indian security forces have eliminated a top commander of the Pakistan-based terror outfit, Jaish-e-Mohammed, in Kathua district. The killing of the foreign terrorist marks a significant blow to Pakistan-backed terror networks attempting to revive violence in the Jammu region, even as counter-terror operations intensify across the Pir Panjal belt.
In a major breakthrough, Indian Defence and Security Forces neutralized a senior Jaish-e-Mohammed commander in a fierce encounter in Jammu's Kathua district. Police identified the slain terrorist as Usman alias Abu Mawiya, a Pakistani national and one of the most wanted Jaish operatives active in the Udhampur Kathua belt since 2024. Officials say Usman was directly involved in at least 6 terror-related cases, including attacks on civilians and security personnel. He had repeatedly evaded security forces during earlier encounters earlier this month, exploiting dense forests and difficult terrain. Jaish-e-Mohammed, a Pakistan-based terror organization designated internationally for its role in cross-border terrorism, has long been accused of operating with impunity from Pakistani soil while orchestrating violence inside India.
फिर एक स्पेसिफिक इनपुट आई हमारे पास 1 बजे के करीब, पडेतर गांव पड़ता है बिलावर में, वहां से कि ये एक घर में है और इसने कुछ सिविलियंस को हॉस्टेज भी बना रखा है। हमने अपनी पार्टी को इमीडिएटली वहां पे मूव किया और हमारे जो सीआरपीएफ और आर्मी थी वो भी हमारे साथ कॉर्डन के अंदर थी। फिर एक छोटी सी जेकेपी की जो हमारी पार्टी थी, उन्होंने एक बहुत ही बहादुरी का एग्जाम्पल सेट करते हुए उन्होंने पहले सिविलियंस को वहां से इवैक्यूएट किया और सीधा अंदर उस घर के अंदर पहुंच गए। उसका वेपन जो है पहले उसने वहां से सामने से फायर किया और उन्होंने उसका वेपन फिर छीनने के बाद उसको गोलियों से मार दिया।
Acting on precise intelligence, the Army and Jammu and Kashmir Police launched a joint operation in Kathua. The area was cordoned off swiftly with units of the Army, CRPF and local police moving in together.
यहाँ पे घना जंगल और बहुत सारे अंडर ग्रोथ, यहाँ पे पेड़ों की बहुत ज्यादा है। जब मैं 7 तारीख को हाइड आउट पे भी पहुंची थी तो 5 मीटर की दूरी से भी इसका हाइड आउट नहीं दिख रहा था। मैं इतने पास पहुंच के भी वहां तक अपनी आंखों से देख पाना बहुत मुश्किल हो रहा था, क्योंकि इतनी डेंस वेजिटेशन और फॉरेस्ट एरिया और सीधा स्टीप स्लोप, नीचे 80 डिग्री की स्टीप स्लोप वहां पे थी। और हम लोग जब पहुंचे थे तो एकदम घिसटते हुए वहां पे पहुंचे। तो इसी तरीके का ये सारा टेरेन है, तो ये हमें काफी चैलेंजेस का सामना करना पड़ रहा था, बट हमें भरोसा था अपनी टीम पर कि ये आतंकी जरूर मारा जाएगा।
Indian security agencies believe Usman was part of a large Jaish-e-Mohammed strategy to revive terrorism in the Jammu region after sustained pressure in the Kashmir Valley. Pakistan-backed terror groups are increasingly exploiting the dense forests of the Pir Panjal range, using difficult terrain to establish hideouts, move between districts, and target security forces and civilians alike.
The underground workers are still helping these people over there who have taken shelter. This is the nexus that has to be broken by the armed forces and the security forces, and they are at it. Sooner or later, all these 70 odd who are there taking shelter in the hills would be eliminated, because now the operation to eliminate them has intensified. Cordon search operations are going.
Meanwhile, counter-terror operations continue in Kishtwar district under Operation Trashi First, where security forces are hunting 3 Jaish terrorists hiding in forested areas despite harsh weather and snowfall. The operation follows a series of encounters in which one Indian paratrooper lost his life and several soldiers were injured in grenade attacks by terrorists. From Kathua to Kishtwar, security forces have stepped up surveillance, tracking and precision strikes, signaling a clear shift from reactive responses to proactive domination of terrain.
With elections approaching in Pakistan-occupied Gilgit-Baltistan, political discourse in the region is undergoing a shift. Long-standing demands for constitutional recognition are now being overtaken by anger over land seizures, resource exploitation, and China-backed projects under CPEC. To assess the implications of these developments, I am joined by Singh Sering, president of the Washington-based Institute for Gilgit-Baltistan Studies. Hello, sir. Welcome to Newsweek South Asia. So my first question to you is, with the upcoming elections in Gilgit-Baltistan, what are the key issues driving voter sentiment, and how might the election process influence the region's long-standing demands for constitutional status and local autonomy?
The local people now expect from their representatives is that they should raise this issue of occupation. They raise the issue of how their land had been forcefully taken away from them by the Chinese, by the Pakistanis. This is the issue that is most important right now. So this is the new level of awareness that people have, that now they want to talk about and expose Pakistan for occupying our lands illegally and depriving the local people of the rights and not sharing the benefits, not letting the local institutions make decisions on local land and resources. So this is something, they are really concerned about, and the implications of letting Pakistanis deal with our affairs is that it is a direct attack on our cultural identity and direct attack on our connection and our emotional link with our ancestral land. So I think that is something that local people would like to maintain, and it can be maintained only if they expose Pakistan for its occupation and also push and force it to withdraw from our lands.
Despite being occupied by Pakistan for decades, Gilgit-Baltistan still lacks constitutional status and national representation. What structural or political barriers continue to prevent this recognition?
Our land, the ruler of our land had a letter of accession offered in favor of India to the British monarch. These are all realities that cannot be just washed away. So Pakistan doesn't have a legal, standing. It does not have a legal claim on Gilgit-Baltistan. So Pakistan always used Kashmir issue, the dispute of Kashmir issue, as an excuse to not grant local people the political rights, the constitutional rights. And that is what Pakistan has been doing for the last 78 years. And this has worked in the favor of Pakistani rulers, Pakistani military, because this way Pakistan does not have to pay or compensate local people for the revenue that it generates from local natural resources, as well as the trade and transit with China, as well as from the mega dams that it is building with the help of the Chinese there. So this is the strategic benefit, that is Pakistan getting completely gratis, completely free of cost. And this is the economic benefit that Pakistan getting completely gratis, completely free of cost, without paying anything to the local people.
CPEC passes through Gilgit-Baltistan and is presented as a development blueprint. Why do many residents feel excluded from decision making around these major projects? And what are the potential long-term implications?
We call it a colonial tool. We do not call it a developmental tool. We don't think that any development that will happen through CPEC will be beneficial for the local people. It will be done for the strategic benefit of China to have a permanent presence there. Otherwise, China will lose its important access to the Gwadar port in Karachi. So I think CPEC, the reason why you asked that why the local institutions, why the local government in Gilgit does not have any say in decision making in the CPEC is because Pakistan and China do not want the local people to impose themselves and demand more rights and more benefit from these projects. They're not being implemented to benefit the local people. The simple answer is that. That's why local people and local institutions have no say in it. This is the land of India. Gilgit is land of India, and now China is trying to make a permanent presence in Gilgit-Baltistan because of the changing strategic environment in the Middle East. So that's why I think, the local people have come against CPEC, against the mega projects, mega dams, against the trade and transit that it provides to the Gwadar port.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights, sir.
Thank you.
Bangladesh is heading into a crucial national election next month amid prolonged political uncertainty, economic strain, and lingering unrest, with Gen Z voters emerging as a decisive force. For millions voting for the first time, the polls follow months of upheaval that disrupted daily life and eroded trust in governance. Young voters see the election as a chance for stability and democratic renewal, though skepticism remains high across the divided nation. Bangladesh is heading into a crucial national election next month amid prolonged political uncertainty, economic stress, and lingering unrest, with Gen Z voters emerging as a decisive force. For millions of young Bangladeshis voting for the first time, the polls come after months of political chaos that disrupted daily life, weakened political trust, and deepened concerns over governance. 25 years old Dhaka University student H.M. Amirul Kareem said the youth want politics to move beyond rigid party lines.
What we saw in the previous regime or in the previous time, that the people of Bangladesh were treated politically, that which political bloc they belong to. But I want to see a change in this perspective, that the people of this country will not be treated politically for their political, the political bloc or political party affiliation. But I hope that the people of this land will be treated as a citizen. They will be given the citizen rights, the basic rights. They will be treated only as citizens, not with their political affiliation.
Young voters say the election represents an opportunity to move the country away from instability and toward democratic normalcy. Many believe that an elected government is essential to restoring institutional order and preventing further political drift. However, skepticism remains high, with fears that old political practices could resurface despite promises of reform. Not all young voters share the same optimism. 23-year-old, a youth activist, Hema Chakma expressed disappointment over what she sees as unfulfilled promises following last year's youth-led movement. Others believe political parties are focusing more on vote banks than real reforms.
একটা প্রবাদ খুব করে চলছে এখন যে মানে পুরাতন বোতলে নতুন মদ বা নতুন বোতলে পুরাতন মদ, এরকম কিছু একটা প্রবাদ আসলে চলছে। সো আমার কাছে মনে হয় যে এই যে আগের যে ট্র্যাডিশনটা, যে পলিটিক্যাল যে চাওয়া পাওয়া বা গণতান্ত্রিক অধিকার, এগুলার জন্য আন্দোলনটা করলেও আমার কাছে মনে হয় এই পর্যায়ে এসে এটা কিছু পার্টিকুলার মানুষদের জন্য ভালো হয়েছে, বাট ওভারঅল যে সর্বসাধারণ যে মানুষজন বা জনগণ, তাদের কাছে যে চাওয়া পাওয়াটা সেটা আসলে হচ্ছে না আর কি। আমার কাছে মনে হয় যে ওই আগের ধারাটাই চলছে এখনও, বরং আমার কাছে মনে হয় যে এই নতুন বাংলাদেশ আমরা যেটার কথা বলছি সেটার অবস্থা আরও বেশি খারাপ হয়ে গিয়েছে।
In 2024, millions of Gen Z Bangladeshis led an uprising that ended nearly 16 years of iron-fisted rule, forcing the then Prime Minister to flee after violent unrest. As the nation heads to the polls, the generation could once again shape history, determined to defend democracy but wary of old patterns repeating. As Bangladesh moves closer to the polls, the mood among Gen Z voters captures the country's crossroads moment. Shaped by political chaos and mass unrest, this generation is demanding stability, accountability, and opportunity, not just rhetoric. Whether the election delivers real change or repeats old patterns, the choices made now will determine if Bangladesh turns the page on turmoil or remains trapped in a familiar cycle of uncertainty. And with that, we come to the end of this edition of Newsweek South Asia. We'll be back next week with more news, views, and analysis from the subcontinent. Meanwhile, do keep writing to us at nwsa@nin.com. This is Shivangi Mishra signing off on behalf of the entire team of Newsweek South Asia. Goodbye and take care.